Hey, Claire. I'm online. If you want to make me the host, I can start streaming.
Sure. Just give me 1 second.
Okay. Okay, great. And do you want to make sure that you can still, sorry, getting some feedback there. Make sure that you can still launch polls and Q&A and stuff like that?
Yep.
Okay, I just want to make sure that I didn't remove any features for you.
Actually, I don't have the poll function.
Okay, hey, and Claire, just a heads up, I'm getting, I was getting feedback like you had 2 mics going maybe, but now actually it stopped, so never mind.
How does that sound?
Yep, it's good. So I'm going to make you a co-host here.
Yep.
Let's see, do you want to make Claire the co-host of the meeting? Yes. Okay, and let me make sure I can still go live. Yep.
And I have both. That's perfect.
And you have polls? Okay, great. I'll wait another like 5 minutes or so to go live, if that sounds good with you.
Okay. Thank you so much for your help.
Yeah, no problem. If I'm going to be working, so if I forget or something, just say something off my headphones on and I'll do it then.
Perfect. Well, welcome everyone who's here so far. This is Claire Ratcliffe from the Space Science Institute. We will be getting started in just about 10 minutes. While you're waiting, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat box. Please select all panelists and attendees, not just all panelists. That way we can all see where you're from. And we'll be getting started in just 10 minutes. Once again, welcome everybody. This is Claire Ratcliffe from the Space Science Institute. We will be getting started in 5 minutes. While you're waiting, please go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat and make sure that you are selecting all panelists and attendees, not just all panelists, so we can all get to see where you're from. We'll be getting started in 5 minutes. All right, everybody, it is 1 o'clock Mountain Time, so we are going to get started. Welcome to our webinar, Closing the Gender Gap, Developing Gender Equitable STEAM Programs. Just a couple housekeeping in terms of how to use Zoom, although I'm sure if you're like most of us, you probably are very familiar with Zoom and other virtual platforms at this point. But in case you're new, there's a toolbar either at the top or the bottom of your Zoom window. There you will find the chat feature and the question and answer feature. Please, if you haven't already, introduce yourself in the chat box. And just a reminder, I will say this a few times, but anytime you use the chat, please select all panelists and attendees instead of just all panelists. That way everyone here can interact with each other and see your comments. Just a couple tips for viewing. You can resize and move the location of the video and slide screens yourself. You just have to click and drag them with your mouse, and you can move the video around, move the PowerPoint slides around, and resize it if you need to zoom in or zoom out. All right. So a few expectations and guidelines. We do ask that you use the Q&A feature for questions. If you ask in the chat, it oftentimes gets buried with other messages. So we can really hone in on your questions if you use the Q&A feature for questions. Again, when using chat, please make sure your messages are being sent to all panelists and attendees rather than just all panelists. And just as we all know, we're all working from home, so tech problems may happen. We just ask that you are patient with us. And there are call-in numbers that should be in your Zoom invite for this webinar in case you get disconnected and want to call in on your phone. We have some awesome facilitators here today. My name is Claire Ratcliffe. I am an education coordinator at the Space Science Institute, and I will let my colleague Kellyanne introduce herself.
Thank you, Claire. Hi, everyone. My name is Kellyanne LeConte, and I am at the Space Science Institute, where I'm the Professional Development Manager. I also direct the STEAM Equity Project.
Hi, my name is Nikki Becker, and I'm with SciGirls. I'm the STEM Media and Education Specialist, and I'm thrilled to be here today. Thanks for joining us.
And hi, everybody. My name is Kristen Pedersen. I work with Nikki Becker at Twin Cities Public Television, where I direct the STEM Media and Education Department, and I'm pleased to be here today.
So for today's agenda, in typical StarNet fashion, we are going to start with an icebreaker and a poll question just to get us going. Kellyanne is then going to take over and give you an overview of the STEAM Equity Project. Then Nikki is going to go over the SciGirls strategies and how to engage girls in STEAM, and then lead you through a SciGirls activity called Parachute Parade. Finally, we're going to close out with a group reflection and discussion, and hopefully there will be some time at the end for some question and answer. So just an icebreaker to get us started. If you could, please enter in the chat, what is something you are looking forward to about autumn? For me, living in Colorado, we have had a bout of very bad wildfires, and so the smoke has been terrible. So I'm very much looking forward to cooler temperatures, getting those fires under control, and having clean air to breathe. Awesome, we've got lots of stuff. Red leaves from Jessica, apple cider. Wow, you guys are really going faster. It looks like we have a lot of fans of autumn. Halloween, sweatshirts, and bundling up. That is definitely nice after the heat of the summer. Sweaters, I love sweater weather. Hoping for NFL, we'll see. It'd be nice to get some football season in. The bugs are gone. Sheila, absolutely, I'm with you on that one. Pumpkin spice, always good. Pumpkin patches, apple cider, bonfires. Yeah, I'm just so excited about autumn. I do love summer, but it's ready. I'm ready for a change, and it looks like you guys are too. So awesome. Thank you for all of these amazing things. Are making me even more excited for fall, Thanksgiving. Oh, and we have someone from New Zealand, and they're heading into spring. So looking forward to some sunshine on the other side of the earth. Awesome. Well, it's nice to have some transitions. Cool. Thank you for sharing. So to relate this and get you ready for our parachute parade activity, I have a quick poll question here for you. Have you ever gone skydiving? So I'm going to launch this poll question so you can actually click into it and we can all see the responses. I'll give you guys about 30 seconds to choose your answers. So the answers are yes, and I loved it. Yes, and it was terrifying and I will never go again. No, but I want to, or no, never in a million years. All right, we're getting quite a lot of responses here. Interesting. Yeah, I always like to hear the adventurous things people do or choose not to do. Okay, we've got 2 more seconds. Anyone else wants to put in their vote for how they feel about skydiving? And all right, so I'm going to end that polling and go ahead and share the results so you guys can see where you land with the other participants. So the majority of you said no, never in a million years. Not even just no, but maybe it's no, never in a million years. And I think I'm with you guys on that one. I did go parasailing one time and I don't know if I would do that again. So jumping out of a plane doesn't really sound like something I would want to do, but we do have 6 people who said that they did and they loved it. So that is very exciting. If you want to share your experience in the chat, feel free. But yeah, thank you guys for participating, and I hope it gets you thinking a little bit about parachutes and what types of materials and how you can strengthen your parachute. So if you do go skydiving, you will be good and safe. So thank you for participating. Okay, now I'm going to hand it over to Kellyanne.
Thank you, Claire. So it's so nice to see everyone on the Zoom here today. Thanks so much for joining us. We wanted to give you a tour of some resources here as part of a project that'll be going on for the next 4 years. And as many of you may know, the Star Library Network has been led by the Space Science Institute for over a decade. And for those of you on the call, I see so many familiar names and faces. We've learned so much from you all and what you're doing around STEAM and working with your communities to bring these opportunities to them. So really appreciate it. We've been listening and we're doing our best here to jump into some new areas and help bring additional resources and strategies to you for your own work. And to do this, we're joined by the American Library Association, the Institute for Learning Innovation, the SciGirls team at Twin Cities PBS, and Education Development Center. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with StarNet, thanks so much for joining us, and we'd love to pick up the conversation with you all as well. I think something I clicked made the slides go into a different mode here. Just a moment. Thanks, Claire. All right, here we go again.
Kellyanne, I'm happy to advance the slides for you.
That sounds great. Thanks, Claire. Sorry, everyone, for technical difficulties there. For the STEAM Equity Project, our vision is to empower tweens and their families around equitable STEAM learning and career paths. Next slide, please. We will be partnering with 12 rural and small libraries in order to really investigate and learn from, explore new ways to collaborate and co-create with Latino populations, including not only leaders from those communities, but also the tweens, to help us make these STEAM experiences of interest, drawing on the community strengths, and most of all, respecting the cultural background. Next slide, please. This project is funded by the National Science Foundation's Advancing Informal STEM Learning program, which endeavors to broaden participation to STEM learning. Next slide, please. We'd love for you to join us throughout this process, and our next opportunity will be a webinar that's going to be held on September 15th. Please do sign up and join us. This topic will be culturally responsive STEAM programming, engaging Latinx communities in rural areas. So please sign up today. Next slide, please. When it is safe to do so, we will be, oh, if you could go back one. Thanks, Claire. When it's safe to do so, we will be convening in person and hoping to go to the ALA annual conference for the next 4 years to convene a STEAM equity pre-conference workshop. The idea here is that we'd be inviting you all to join an annual forum on gender equitable and culturally responsive STEAM learning. And we're hoping that this is an opportunity for you to network, try out some new strategies, learn about resources, and play with some hands-on STEAM activities. Next slide, please. And in the meantime, we all are living through unprecedented times, and certainly community collaborations are going to be critical now more than ever. To help you do this, please do check out our resources on community dialogues. In particular, I wanted to give a big shout out to Lisa Jackson, librarian supervisor at the African American Research Library and Cultural Center, who's done so much work with us here at StarNet on community dialogues. Check out a really neat video profile of her work and learn how to access more resources so that you can do this even virtually to reach out into your community. And with that, I think it's time to play with some STEAM. Nikki, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Kellyanne. And I'm going to get control here. So once again, my name is Nikki and I'm the STEM Media and Education Specialist for SciGirls. And my colleague, Kristen Pedersen, is here. And Kristen, please feel free to jump in at any point if you have you notice I missed something or just want to add some commentary, color commentary, please do. So we're going to start out by giving you a brief introduction of SciGirls. And I'd love to hear in the chat if you're familiar with the show or educational programming at all. Just, oh, I think I just did the same thing that Kellyanne was doing. Claire, would you mind advancing the slides?
Sure thing.
Thank you. Please let us know in the chat if you're familiar with us, if you've watched the show with your kids or by yourself, if you've maybe taken part in one of our trainings or have kids who've done SciGirls programming. And if not, that's great, because that's what we're going to tell you about today is SciGirls. So to start, we were created over a decade ago with a mission of media and education that changes how girls see STEM and how the world sees girls. We work towards this goal via 3 routes. Next slide, please. Thank you. So first up, we have our Emmy-award winning PBS Kids television show. We premiered our 5th season over the past winter, and that was all about coding and computational thinking. We were recently funded for 2 additional seasons. The first one is Space SciGirls, that was funded by NASA. And then the next season that we'll hopefully be filming is funded by the National Science Foundation, and that is SciGirls in the National Parks. So that'll be our 7th season, and all of our seasons besides this Space SciGirls have all been funded by the National Science Foundation, as well as our educational outreach efforts that we do. We also have our PBS Kids website that provides a safe place for kids to play educational and fun games that are based around our activities. And they can also watch all of our episodes there safely, as well as our role model videos, and create profiles for themselves and explore STEM. And then we have our SciGirls Connect professional development network of over 200 partner organizations, reaching thousands of educators and youth programs nationwide. Next slide. We often talk about what brought us here. Why do we do this? Why do we care? What are we trying to reach out to girls to do this? And that main reason is over the past decade plus of research that we've done, we've learned that boys and girls do not display any significant challenges in their abilities to do STEM that causes social and environmental. Differences consistently appear in girls' interests and confidence in STEM subjects starting at a young age. And these differences can be linked to a negative self-perception enhanced by stereotypes. Next slide. Through this research, we've created a set of strategies called the SciGirls strategies. Very, easy to remember, around how to engage girls in STEM. And these are them, and I'll let you take a moment to look them over. We have connect STEM experiences to girls' lives, support girls using STEM practices, engage girls to embrace struggles, encourage girls to challenge STEM stereotypes, emphasize that STEM's collaborative and community-oriented, and interact with diverse STEM role models and mentors. Along with this, over the past couple years, we did additional research, and we wanted to add in a framework for the strategies. These ideas were always embedded in them, but we really thought it important to call them out more explicitly. And so those are to create a STEM for all learning environment in your classrooms or your programs, and to use culturally responsive teaching strategies, knowing that going to a full day, even a full day training, especially a 10-minute training like today, but even a full day training, that you're not going to leave being fully culturally responsive. That is a lifelong process. We just want to make sure that you leave with that idea that it exists and it's something that you should be striving towards in your work with kids and in life. These strategies and the framework can all be found on our SciGirlsConnect.org website if you want to learn more. Next slide, please. All of our episodes have been overdubbed and subtitles in Spanish, as well as our activities have all been translated to Spanish over the years. But for season 4, we wanted to do a Spanish first episode and outreach programs. So we created Latina SciGirls. It's 6 Spanish first episodes where the girls and role models spoke Spanish. The season also included a research and evaluation component where we worked with 16 partner organizations across the country that focused with Latina families. And through these partners, we ended up working with over 280 girls and their Latinx family members around research and evaluation. And we discovered the following. As you can see, we learned that girls reported higher rates of emotional connection to STEM, an important component of STEM-related identity development, and after exposure to the various Latina SciGirls interventions. Next slide, please. Beyond this season and activities, we also created 12 role model videos called Latinas at Work. They feature real Latina STEM professionals working in a variety of STEM fields, from engineers to chemists to doctors, all across the board. And these videos, as do all of our role model videos, showcase the different pathways that these women take to get to their careers, both highlighting the successes and, more importantly, the struggles it took to get there. And you'll find when you watch all of our episodes, do all of our activities, watch our role model videos, that the SciGirl strategies are embedded in everything. If you look, you'll see that we highlight as many of them as we can when we can throughout all of our media and activities. We also created an engaging Latinos family guide for educators to use. Both of these items can be viewed on our SciGirls Connect site and downloaded for free. Next slide, please. So I know some states and areas, oh, I'm sorry. So I was going to show a role model video. I don't think we have time, but we can put a link in the chat box and I could do that in a moment. That links to our role model videos. But like I said, they're all on our SciGirlsConnect.org site and you can find them there as well. This is Alma Stephanie. She works with NASA. She's a materials engineer. And her video is one of the Latinas at Work. So next slide. Thank you, Kellyanne, for adding that in the chat. I know some states and areas have gone back to in-person learning and many places have not. And we know that this has been a struggle across the world and how to do these virtual programs for kids. We are currently working on putting together resources and tips for people to use when doing virtual learning. But I thought I'd just run through a few things here quickly, just to give you some ideas. So first off, utilize platform features when you're doing these programs virtually. All sorts of different platforms have all sorts of different resources, from breakout rooms to the chat function. I recently spoke with one of our trainers who mentioned that a lot of the kids in her program weren't comfortable being on camera for a variety of reasons. It could be something as simple as they're just camera shy. Maybe they aren't comfortable showing their home. Maybe their parents don't want them on camera or want their background on camera. So one option they're going to do is create the same virtual background for all the kids so that there's no comparing and contrasting the background. Everybody's the same, and it takes away that sort of the differencing part of that. Another way to do it is get their attention, ask questions, use good visuals, add surprises. Do you have pets? Show them off. Kids love to see the pets. If you've got somebody else in the room with you, have them throw stuff to you off screen. Things like that. Just keep it exciting for the kids. You can use a variety of learning techniques. They don't always have to just be staring at the camera and talking and listening. They can be drawing. They can act something out. They can do fun things in the chat, add games, add polls that we used here. And then, like I said, have fun, play games. Keep it engaging for the kids. They have to look at these screens all day, and just listening to someone talk is not going to be exciting for them in the end. Next slide, please. I think it's time for us to do a virtual activity. So I hope you all have your materials. They're listed here. This activity is called Parachute Parade, and we're going to approach this today as if this is a youth program. So I'm going to ask you some questions that we would ask our kids in the program. So let's start by utilizing that chat box and talk about parachutes. So first, what is a parachute and why would anyone need one? And go ahead and answer in the chat. All you skydivers out there, all 6 of you. Anybody want to take on what's a parachute and why would we need one? Safety device, it slows you down, control your fall. Oh, parachutes create drag to create someone's speed, yes. Something that slows you down when falling, right. To not die in a fall, yes, very important. Device made to expand the surface area of a falling object and create a slowing effect in free fall. Trying to read it really fast while they're flying by. To power your surfboard, something to slow the fall. Yes, this is all great. So yeah, parachutes, when a parachute catches air, it's called drag, and which is a force that works against gravity. So now that we know what parachutes are and why you would want one, I hope you all have your materials. I'm going to, welcome to my bedroom also. This is also the part of fun of virtual learning and conferences. I have my materials. These are all household objects that I've found. I realized I didn't have any string here last minute, so I'm using dental floss, which just goes to show that really our SciGirls activities get creative with the materials. We give you a list, but if you don't have yarn or string on hand, dental floss will also work. And then we're gonna take some time, and I want you to think about the parachutes, and if you have a pen and paper in front of you, draw a design. Start thinking about what you want your parachute to look like, what you think would work best with materials you have at hand, and I'm going to give you a minute to draw. To slow the fall and give you time to think about just why you jumped out of a plane. Yes, yes, you have a lot of time to think. Once you have your design, we're going to start creating. So with the materials you have, design a parachute that will safely and slowly land your figurine. If you have a figurine, I drew Izzy to the best that I could draw her since I don't have a printer available to me at the moment. But whatever you have will work. It doesn't have to be a piece of paper. It can be an actual little figurine that you have. But that's going to also, make you take into consideration the weight of what you're going to have land, and what will help her land safely and slowly on the ground. So we're going to take about 5 minutes to do this. Typically in a program setting, you can set the timer for whatever you need. That's one really nice thing about this activity is it can be either as long or as short as you need it to be, depending on the time you need to fill or the time you have. So I want everyone to take about 5 minutes to make their parachutes. And Claire, I haven't been tracking the time so much, so if we need to wrap up faster than that, just let me know.
I will let you know. I think we have plenty of time, so
Cool.
you all can really think about how you want to design and build your parachute.
I'm also building one. I've never done one with dental floss before, so this is a new challenge for myself. I did get a little head start on it though before the meeting, so. I also don't think I've ever used paper towels to do one, so that's also new. Typically this time of year, I'm in Minnesota and it's typically our state fair season, and we do this activity a lot for the state fair because it is just very simple and can be done quickly or take a long time depending on how long people have. And it's lightweight material, so it's easy to transfer. I think it's also really important, especially virtual programs, to maybe have some sort of just really randomly weird items like dental floss, just because, you know, kids don't all come to the same home and they have different materials there. And so just get creative. And I honestly do not, no, this is gonna drop. How's everyone doing with their parachutes? Yep. Your parachute is parachute adjacent. All right. Parachute-ish. If someone handed you your parachute that was made out of a paper towel, would you jump off the plane? How confident are you in your parachute? Definitely not plane worthy. There's lots of ways to use the materials, lots of ways to attach your figure, your Izzy, or whichever you're using. Parachute. Mine would look nice, but probably not the safest. All right, we'll give it a couple more minutes. Like I said, typically you can give the kids as much time as they want to do this activity, or as much time as you have to allow them to do the activity. I have a SciGirls trainer who once did this, I think, for like 3 hours with her group. Just kept designing and retesting and testing and retesting and designing and then like also decorating and things like that. So all right, we'll give it one more minute. It's hard to see how far along people are since I can't see anyone. So I'm just hoping that you're all getting your parachutes ready. Yes, that's definitely a part of it. Typically when we would do this program, this activity in person at youth programs, we would break the girls into small groups so they would work together, because collaboration is one of the key SciGirl strategies. All right, so I hope you have your parachutes. Poor Garfield, sorry. This is fun reading this in the chat. So now that we have a parachute, we're going to test them. So if you have a timer, either if you have a phone at a timer or a stopwatch or any way to take how long it's going to take your parachute to descend, find a safe place that you can drop the parachute from a little bit of a height. You don't want to drop it right from your chair because it's not going to go that far if you're sitting down. You're tall. I'm fairly tall. I just kind of reach really, really high and do it. Otherwise, if you have something safe to just elevate yourself a little bit, maybe a step or something, go to that place. And we are going to drop your parachute and see how long it takes for it to descend. And also, is it going to land down? Is it going to like flop and turn and do that? All things to think about when you're doing this. So, and if you're, think about the best way to test these parachutes? And if you're testing them against other designs, as you would in a testing facility, what would be the best way to do that? So what are some variables to consider when you're doing it? What even is a variable? If anybody wants to throw that in the chat box. But go ahead and take a minute to test your parachute. And if you wanted to take another minute to, if it doesn't work out quite as you had hoped, to add some different elements to your parachute to test it again, please do so. Oh no, a lot of sad figurines. How do I get mine here? And then, put your timer in the chat box. How long it took you, how long the parachute took to descend. Get my timer up. Stopwatch, there we go. Alrighty. Coffee filter and yarn, yes, that's an excellent combo. All right. All right, let me do that again. I didn't quite. .5 seconds. All right. All right. So I'm about 5'9", and it took about 1.6 seconds. It landed upside down, but so I'm not quite sure how safe that the paper towel dental floss option really was. Pipe cleaners don't work. But think about it. Is there a way to make pipe cleaners work? Are there other adjustments you can do to the actual parachute itself to make the pipe cleaners work? Little zebra, oh. Did your parachute act the way you thought it would? Very slightly, okay. I switched from yarn to your dental floss idea, okay. Message. Oh yes, definitely. It's a great group activity, but it's also something that kids can do alone at home or on a virtual setting. Mm-hmm. So this activity, once again, like all of our activities, is available on our SciGirlsConnect.org site to download for free. We have a wide variety of activities under a bunch of different STEM topics for you there, if you'd like to take this home with you. So can I go to the next slide, Claire? So we're gonna take off our youth hat right now and come at it from an educator's perspective and think about those strategies we looked at earlier. And I think Claire has a poll to set up. And we want to know which of these SciGirl strategies that you saw, that you learned about earlier, do you see most reflective in this activity? You can choose as many as you'd like. So did it connect STEM experiences to girls' lives? Does it support girls using STEM practices? Does it empower girls to embrace struggle? Does it encourage girls to challenge STEM stereotypes? Does it emphasize that STEM is collaborative and community-oriented? Does it interact with diverse STEM role models and mentors? And it might not use all of them, it might only use one, but which ones or one or did you see called out in this? And then Claire, I think, I can't see if they're happy, if they're choosing, so I'll let you close that out if it's ready.
Yeah, it looks like a couple answers are still coming in. I'm going to give you guys about 5 more seconds to make your selection. All right, things have slowed down, so I'm going to end polling and share results so you can see how you compared to everyone else.
All right. Yeah, definitely empowers girls to embrace struggles. Absolutely. And the collaborative and community oriented. I'm just kind of looking at the comments here. Oh yeah, that's a building the house and seeing how much weight the roof could take. That's a good activity. Changing this up for a variety of ages. Yep, all of our activities are created with the age group of 8 to 13-year-olds in mind, but we do encourage adapting them to both younger and older audiences. And then we also want to hear about it. Once again, I'm trying not to sound like a broken record promoting our website, but on the SciGirls Connect site, under these activities, there is a place where you can add comments and talk about how you've maybe used this activity differently than it is written. And we'd love to hear that. All right. So kind of thinking about the STEAM aspect of this, is there a way you could add a STEAM element to this activity to get that A in there, that arts in it? I feel like there's probably a couple pretty easy ways to do that. Decorating, yeah. Yeah, that's always a thing. When we, like I said, when we do this at the fair, that ends up just being a lot of coloring happening on these paper towels or things when we do these. Drawing your idea, different string, braid. Oh, I like that, braiding the string. Shape a parachute passenger. Different colors of yarn. Oh yeah, that's a really good point, that if you decorate it, you could actually give it a purpose for visibility. Oh, doing an egg drop, and you don't want it to break, so you make the egg look really nice. Making a parachutist out of clay. Making your passenger person out of infamous pipe cleaners. Yes, I like that too. You know, we don't actually, I can't remember now if pipe cleaners are on the materials list, but I might just want to add them just to see if people make little figurines out of them, because I like that idea quite a bit. Write a poem about the thoughts the passengers went down. Oh my goodness, you guys are hilarious. I love this. So I think for me, that is the end of my part of this presentation. Thank you all for bringing the materials and making parachutes and doing the testing and being so enthusiastic about this. And thanks to StarNet everybody for having us here today. Kristen, did you want to add anything?
There I am. I thought it was great. The thing that I wanted to add is to just remind all the attendees, it's SciGirls, but we will always underscore that gender equitable practices are good for both boys and girls. And so you can always use our resources and call them SciGirls, or you can call them STEM Fun, or whatever you see fit, because you know, if you don't want to alienate boys. However, if you're able to bring boys in under the SciGirls kind of banner, great. Otherwise, do know that these are STEM activities for everybody, and they're enriching for everybody. I also wanted to applaud Nikki. It's really hard to do these trainings virtually, as we're all learning over the past 5 months. I'm sure that folks on this call will also have cool ideas about how to, you know, bring in learners into these kinds of trainings or this kind of activity. And sometimes depending on the age of the kid, you can use those breakout rooms, and so they're able to kind of do it on their own and then come back. Or any other tools that you guys have found helpful, please share, because we always love to learn too.
Yes. Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Claire and Kellyanne.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was awesome. I loved reading the chat and just seeing everyone's experience. I really appreciate the participants and how much they were Yeah, sharing their experiences, even if it wasn't quite as successful as they thought it was the first time around. But that's what's so great about these kind of engineer design challenges. You can try again, you know, test it, see what went wrong, and try to make it better and better.
Yep.
So we are going to move on to just a discussion in the chat, but we'd love to hear from you some of the things you may have done in the past or are currently doing to intentionally create STEAM learning experiences for girls. So you just got a ton of great ideas from the SciGirls strategies. Maybe those are things you're already doing, but we'd love to hear from you if there's anything you like to do when you're specifically trying to create an inclusive learning space for your patrons. So Tina says, Girls' Day during Engineering Week. Awesome. Yeah, I think having a very explicit place where girls feel welcomed is excellent. We're getting some great book suggestions in here too. I'll try to go through the chat after this and compile it and add it to that resource bank that Stephanie keeps dropping in the chat. Jessica says, Girls Who Code, they're excellent. I highly recommend checking out their coding resources that are also designed for girls, but that work for boys and girls. Let's see, lots of great ideas. Stacy says, in virtual space, make sure they can talk, tell stories, and get to know each other. That's one of the strategies, that STEM is a collaborative and social thing. And that can really engage girls in learning. And Erin says, our library used the program Girls Who Code.
Stacy, I love your point about the collaboration. I think that's especially difficult during virtual spaces. Like even now you all are chatting with us in the chat, which we love, but the webinar default is that you wouldn't be able to talk. So it really does take some extra thought, but it's so worth it if you can get everybody engaged on the topic.
Absolutely. Some other things coming up in the chat. We have an after-school STEAM team for 4th through 6th graders at our local school. So finding partnerships outside of the library is great. Christina says, we're very intentional about color usage around our makerspace tools, using traditionally feminine colors for higher tech tools and more traditionally masculine colors for our sewing machines. Very interesting, yeah, use of colors that kind of historically have you know, a stereotypical, and then switching it. I love that. That sounds great. Yeah, having women role models from your community during Girls' Day and Engineering Week. That's from Tina. Jerry says, our wonderful children's librarian has a program called Topsy Tuesday. Although not exclusively for girls, it encourages kiddos to engage in STEAM activities. Yeah, and I think that speaks to Kristen's point of using these strategies and intentionally including, trying to draw in girls will be good for boys too. These learning objectives and these learning styles work for all genders. Karen says, we had GLITZ, Girls Learning Innovation Together Zone, and Tomorrow Engineers. Awesome. Laura is doing a Zoom program called STEAM at Home Monthly. It is for boys and girls. And Girl Scout badge nights, absolutely. Laura, it's good to hear that you're still doing STEAM through Zoom, even though it has its own challenges, but you're keeping it going. That's great. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for sharing. And lots more stuff coming in here. Kelly just dropped a link for connecting you with role models. And Donna said they've had a great success in even gender participation. One reason may be that they first started promoting STEAM when they started with family program. So everyone came. Yeah, I think multi-generational programs, you know, you're going to get sisters, brothers, cousins, and that can really help bring everyone in. And again, kind of goes back to that collaborative nature, this social aspect of STEAM learning. Awesome. Amazing ideas here. Great. And how might, what do you think you could bring from these strategies Are there any that maybe you haven't thought of before that you want to start implementing in addition to the other ways you've intentionally created STEAM learning experiences? Adding the R to STEAM for STREAM, absolutely. So that's science, technology, reading, engineering, art, and math, absolutely. And that hits so many different interests and can pull in all kinds of people. You know, if the entry point might not be science, but it might be reading, and that can bring them in and get them exposed to all other parts of STEAM or STREAM. Yeah, Debbie, this is that's a very real thing. She said, we are just beginning a STEAM program, but noticed with our after school coding, it was 90% boys. So we're looking for ways to even that out a little. Yeah, that's very typical. And that's, you know, why we're doing this project, why we're so glad you guys are joining us today to try to even out that distribution. Yeah, Laura says, I'd like to learn how to incorporate the vocabulary that goes with different subjects. That can help you as a facilitator feel more confident, and encouraging citizen science programs from Josephine. Bilingual story time, absolutely. I think, you know, that's just a great way to be inclusive of everybody, is to provide multiple languages if you can. And using bookmobiles to take STREAM into the Hispanic and underserved neighborhoods. All right. Yeah, these are all really great ideas. Please keep them coming. I'm going to move on to our next discussion question, just so we have enough time to dig into that as well. So as Kelly had mentioned earlier in the program, it is so important to include your patrons in the development of your program, if you can. And that takes getting to know them, having conversations, finding out, especially what tweens and what your girl patrons are interested in. Are they interested in reading? And how can you find that connection to STEM or STEAM or STREAM? But we would love to hear ways you guys connect with your tween and girl patrons to learn about their interests in the development of your programs. I know some libraries have teen or tween advisory boards. That can be a great way to solicit input from them. Right, and Kelly says they have a large Latinx population that is widely ignored and would love to bring in more of the cultural aspects to our STEM programs. So we would love for you to join our next webinar in September. The link is to that webinar to register is on the link bank. And Stephanie, if you could drop that in one more time, you can please register for it and learn a lot more about how to build culturally responsive STEAM programs. Donna says we offer surveys, and as you said, the most important thing is conversation. Yep, and teen advisory boards, absolutely. Laura says our programs are all online right now, and so is sign up. If we notice someone that enjoyed the last STEAM program, we send them an email about the upcoming program. That's a great way to personalize your invitations. I love that. Peter, we have a group of high school mentors that have all graduated from our middle school program. They provide lots of feedback on what worked and what didn't work for them. That's really excellent information to get to know. Yep, teen advisory boards and building relationships with those that come into the library regularly. Absolutely. Weekly creative writing groups that's mostly girl participants, and a lot of their interests naturally come up. So utilizing current groups to just get to know the kids over time. That's great. Yeah, and once you build that relationship, you know, if you build these strong relationships with people coming in for the creative writing group, you might be able to convince them, hey, come to my STEAM program next week. And, you know, because they trust you and they have this relationship with you, they might be encouraged to join other types of programs as well. Mel says, I tried to move around and sit at the different tables to talk to my participants and see what they like and don't like each week and try to build on their interests for future months. Yeah, just having those conversations. And I know sometimes with tweens, it can be a little intimidating to start a conversation with them, but once you do, you can learn so much about them and just build these great relationships. All right, and Karen shares, our children librarian trained my 12-year-old daughter who volunteers at the library and taught her how to do sewing. They both put a program together, so my daughter was the teacher. That way other girls could see that they can become more than just students, creating confidence and leadership. Yeah, that's an excellent way to include tweens and just empower them in their skills that they're building.
I'm curious too, we've had sewing mentioned a couple of times, and I love that you're bringing that up, because to me, there's so many connections to the skills that you need to succeed in STEM related professions. I'm wondering, did anybody have any tricks for how they help the participants make those connections, that if you can sew, you can do so much with STEM? Any ideas?
Yeah, sewing is one of those things I hear a lot, and it's not really your first inkling to be like, this could be STEM related, but there's so many ways you can connect that. Jessica says, I've incorporated lily pads, Arduino in with Sewing Club. Absolutely. We like to tie our textile programs to other technology, laser cut. Wow, we got lots of ideas coming in here. Creating cosplay costumes. Christina shares, as a crocheter, I've realized how much math I use on a regular basis with patterns, and I would imagine it's similar with sewing. Absolutely. And just that whole like following a pattern and going step by step can bring out some of those computational thinking skills of taking a big problem and breaking it down into smaller, more meaningful, or more easy to do chunks. Absolutely. Kelly went to a STEM training program where they sewed lights and batteries to our projects. Yes, you can get conductive thread and sew in a battery using one of those lily pads, sew in a little LED light and connect it and make a circuit. And then you have a wearable outfit. That's a lot of fun to do. Oh, very cool. Josephine said, I did paper quilting with grades 3 through 5. We talked about shapes and how they fit together. Oddly, she had more boys than girls sign up for that. That's an excellent STEAM program. And Jessica says, even discussing why a certain stitch is good for a repair as opposed to another one. Absolutely. Awesome. Well, please keep adding your thoughts in the chat. I did see a question earlier. It was sent just to the panelists, but I do want to address it. Somebody asked if they could use this recording with their teens. Absolutely. All of our recordings from all of our webinars are archived on the StarNet website, and so you'll find that in that link bank that Stephanie has been sending out. So you are welcome to use this for trainings for your staff. Although, you know, I would imagine your teens might want to see your faces instead of ours to go through this really fun activity, but it is up there and free and available for you to use. The slides themselves will also be posted with the webinar recording. And so, yeah, please check that out and all of our other webinars that we have archived. And just again, once again, I just want to encourage you all to sign up for our next webinar. That is our culturally responsive webinar. That is also a part focusing on STEAM equity. And that will be September 10th. All right. Well, thank you all so much for all of your ideas. I'm going to hang on until we just have a few minutes left. So I'll stick around for the remainder if there are any questions. Once you leave the webinar, you will be directed to a survey. We would love your input on this webinar and any suggestions, comments, or anything you would like to see in the future. Please check out that, that survey. At the end of the survey, you will be directed to a certificate of attendance. That way you have proof that you had this training here with us today.
Claire, I'll also drop in the link to that role model video. Really recommend if you have a few minutes here after the end of this webinar that you take the time to go check it out and peruse the other role model videos.
Awesome, yeah. Thanks all. I hope you have a great day. I'm just gonna stick around for any last questions and we'll see you next time. We had a question if the chat is going to be available. Yes, we'll put the chat transcript up along with the slides next to the archived recording of this webinar. All right, to the panelists, thank you guys so much. I don't see any other questions coming in. So yeah, we'll get we'll have Greg get everything up and posted so people can access it later. And yeah, thank you so much. This was great.
Thank you, Nikki. Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Claire.
All right, bye guys.